For years now, Max Payne has been missing in action. In fact, his last outing was for the PS2 and original Xbox. Rockstar Studios resets the stage for more alcohol abuse, painkiller overdose, and bullet time firefights in this third installment, Max Payne 3. Diving deeper into the broken psyche of a once detective, does this story of redemption hit the mark, or is it one drink shy of a good time?
So you really have to hand it to Rockstar in the past decade. They've released some of the best titles, some of the most beloved series to home consoles, and finally we have the third title in the Max Payne series. Rockstar's storytelling is second to none, and the story of Max Payne 3 is probably one of the best features of the game. If you guys have no familiarity with Max Payne before, he is a broken, drunken man who is still haunted by the death of his wife and daughter from the previous titles. Basically what happens is we listen to the events of Max Payne 3 from Max's point of view. The beginning of the game is actually the very end of the game. Max retells the story leading up to that point, and I love that type of storytelling. You see Max as a broken man who's confused. He's moved to Brazil to become a personal bodyguard for a very rich Brazilian family. He's pissed off a bunch of mobsters in Hoboken, New Jersey, and he has a newfound friend in Raul Passos. And you see Max struggle, attempt, and just try to recover from the ghosts in his closet that have been following him throughout his life. And honestly, he can't catch a break. There are points in the story where I was completely shocked at his lowest point. And even though he has the absolute craziest ideas, like shaving his head to wearing an absolutely ridiculous flower shirt, there's never a single point in the Max Payne 3 story where you feel that Max has overcome everything. Always struggling, he's always on his last wits, and even though you have characters who are supporting him, you can't trust anyone. And like I said, characters you get attached to, don't, because you don't know what's gonna happen to them. Between each chapter, you have a lot of exposition. You have Max's clever dialogue on the state of Brazil, the absolute rich, and the disrespect for the abject poor who are struggling to survive in these favelas. The picture Rockstar sets for the Brazilian favelas is not a pretty one. There's drugs, there's crime, there's a lot of seedy things happening, and when you actually find out the main plot twist of this game, it will set you back. Again, Rockstar had to hand it off to you guys. You really took this story to another level. The one thing that has stayed with Max Payne throughout the 3 titles is the gunplay. You are a ex-cop with expert gun skills, and you can do some pretty cool things. The original Max Payne was one of the first titles I heard of that had bullet time taken from the Matrix series. So obviously you can use your bullet time to slow down the gunfights, because there are some scenarios which are pretty over the top. Without the bullet time, Max would die very quickly because he is very weak. On the harder difficulties with the free aim, which is how you guys should play, Max Payne 3 is quite a challenge. On top of the bullet time, you have the shoot dodge mechanic. Honestly, one of the most satisfying things about this game is having an enemy think he's safe behind a column, shoot dodge to his left, surprise him, and bam, headshot. The fact that the game has a bullet cam, when you kill the last guy, you see the gore, you see the violence. Max Payne 3 is not for kids. This is a very gruesome game. There are certain scenes that I was very shocked by. Sometimes shoot dodging is not the best thing to do. Max is very slow. If you shoot dodge into a column, he gets up very slowly and you can get killed very quickly. So you gotta be very selective. In fact, most of the time it's easier to stay in cover and use the bullet time, perform headshots. Now, the cover system is kind of new to the series, and to be honest, it's not done that well. It's a little bit clunky. Getting in and out of cover can be cumbersome. The bullet time basically increases when you're in cover, so Max does not regenerate health. As he gets shot up, you have painkillers which can instantly bring your health back down to 0. Now, in some modes, you go into last man standing mode, where you basically have a few moments to kill the last guy who just shot you. There's an old school mode in Max Payne 3 where it kind of eliminates that completely, and that's the way the game is supposed to be played. Even the really cool preset bullet time sequences really test your shooting ability. Again, Rockstar game here has a really solid gameplay title, albeit it's not perfect, but it's pretty satisfying. Now, another very surprising addition to Max Payne is multiplayer. Now, honestly, Rockstar games didn't have to do this. The single player is pretty meaty. It's about 10 to 12 hours in length, depending on the difficulty you choose. And when I first played it, I thought it was just a throwaway mode, standard deathmatch and multiplayer. And to my surprise, it actually is very fulfilling. In fact, I've been putting a lot of hours into it, and I find it's actually better than the single player, because once you beat the single player game, unless you want to play through the harder difficulties, then multiplayer is really where it's at. So you have the standard deathmatch, you have character classes, you have perks, you have weapons, you have unlocks, you can gamble. There's a really cool set of modes called Gang Wars, which have a bunch of different types of objective-based gameplay. It gets really fun, and once you play through the initial preliminary settings, so basically it'll ease you into the gameplay rather than just throwing you in with a gauntlet of really good players, you unlock this really in-depth character customization. I was very surprised. It takes consideration into the weight of all the items you're carrying. There are different classes. You can choose your perks, or bursts as they call them in this game. And it's quite satisfying because you can loot items, you can still perform your bullet time shoot dodge in the multiplayer matches. Honestly, once you play the single player, if you have the online pass, Pass, you definitely gotta play multiplayer because Max Payne 3 is really fun online. Much to my surprise, Rockstar Games, you guys did a really good job. Now, it wouldn't be a Rockstar game without absolutely fantastic characterization in terms of visuals, in terms of voice acting, in terms of cinematics. Now, you see Max Payne, he's struggling, he's living in abject poverty for the most part, he's just down on his luck, and every once in a while during the cutscenes, it actually happens quite often, and there's a lot of like really weird filters that shows like the manic setting of Max Payne's mindset, and for a while it was kind of cool. It gets a little bit distracting later because there are a lot of cutscenes. Make sure you put the subtitles on unless you understand Portuguese, because a lot of the game is in Portuguese. It's very interesting just to see what Max is going through, and it's very random at times. The visuals are fantastic. I was actually quite surprised not to see the facial capture systems in LA Noire, but the voice acting, the lip syncing in particular, it's all top notch. I mean, Rockstar Games has been doing this for a long time, and Max Payne 3 is an absolute treat to look at. There are some weird textures and sometimes there's animation problems, but Max Payne 3, definitely you want to show on your big screen TV. It looks really pretty, and I can't say enough about the voice acting. The actor of Max Payne, he does a fantastic job. You feel the pain in his voice. There are many times in the game where Max just looks like his luck has run out. He's not doing a very good job of being a bodyguard, unfortunately, but all the voice actors, his employer, to your colleagues, Raul Passos, even the enemies are just voiced beautifully. I cannot say enough about the OST. I know I always talk about music and games. It is unbelievable. It has this very interesting Mass Effect / synth vibe. There's a lot of inspiration from Scarface. You can ask Voyce. I've been listening to the Panama tracks and future tracks on reloop nonstop. In a nutshell, Max Payne 3 is an absolute pleasant surprise. The single player for the most part is fun. It does lose a steam towards the end because it can get a little long. You will spend a lot of time with multiplayer because there's just so much to do. There's all this team-based gameplay. It's just a lot more in-depth than you initially think. Again, the visuals are up there. The voice acting is second to none. The music is fantastic, and I'm absolutely thrilled that Rockstar decided to release a third title in Max Payne series for this generation of consoles. Great single player, fantastic multiplayer, amazing AV. Few glitches here and there, but it's a solid title all around. If you want something different, if you want some depth to your story and characters, you gotta play Max Payne 3. Good stuff, Rockstar Games.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show. For those of you who played it, what did you think about Max Payne 3? Leave your thoughts in a comment below. Subscribe to our channel and follow us on Twitter at TheGamerNerdz. We'll see you next time on TheGamerNerdz.
The visuals are pretty. I'm glad this is the first Max Payne. Oh my god. I'm glad this is the first Max Payne game that I'm glad.